So you created a modern translation. Does that mean that you had to also learn Koine Greek?
Well, I'm not trying to play the role of scholar here.
Okay.
So that's just first things first, all right? This book is an effort to take hours and hours and hours of lectures, lessons, classes. Lections is short for lectures, lessons, and
That's
classes,
a new one.
just so you know. And piles of books and boil it down to the most basic form so that someone who's not training to be an expert in this stuff can understand it. So if you and I got in the DeLorean today and we went back in time to talk to the apostles, I wouldn't be your best bet for a translator. So I just wouldn't suggest that you bring me with you. Most of the work I'm doing in the Greek is by reading it, and even then I'm a student of the Greek. I'm not fluent in it. And I let the scholars do the work for me. We have a lot of really great translations. This isn't an effort to reinvent the wheel. The problem is that the more literal you get, the harder the translation can be to understand, especially to the younger reader or the average reader. So I use the NASB. I was blessed by the Lockman Foundation to get permission to use their text and manipulate it. I guess somebody was crazy that day letting me do it. So I can give you an example of how the translation process worked just by using one verse, like Mark 3:9. And so essentially a paraphrase would be, and he, referring to Jesus, told his disciples to have a boat standing ready for him because of the crowd, so the crowd wouldn't crowd him. So the problem with this is that we have two uses for the word crowd. We're using it in two different ways, and that can be confusing to people. So before I change it, though, that's where you have to go to the Greek. So for the first use of crowd, it's aklon. So it's just a word that means multitudes of people. Sometimes there's a connotation that they could be riding, but when you see the word multitudes, that's usually the word that's being used there. So that's fine. Most people, most kids, I don't like to call them kids all the time, know what crowd means. So we go to the next usage of the word crowd, and we see that it's a word called philebo. And that means much more than to get up in someone's space. I did not use that phrase for the translation. But it means more than that. It means to create pressure, to smash or press down on. So oftentimes when you see the word affliction or tribulation, that's a form of this word is being used there. It's an easy word to remember. We're going to learn Greek today. Philebo rhymes with Tim Tebow.
That's true.
Who's right? He's getting smashed. That's what you were telling me. I don't watch a lot of sports, but he's always getting run over, both on the field and the media.
And in the media, he's always getting publicly run over. Right? Poor guy.
So Philebo. So how would this crowd Philebo Jesus? Well, in my vocabulary, it would be trampled. But we got to check that with the millennial reader. So this really happened. I said, "Hey, Sophie, do you know what trampled means?" I got a little pause, like, what?
Blank stare.
Yeah, exactly. So I said, well, how about run over? Yeah, I know what that means. So here's how we get a translation that a younger reader is going to understand, but stays true to the intended meaning of the Greek word.